Hi, I'm Heather Packer. I'm the Director of Education for Mr. Smith in North America. This is my model, Nadia. Today we're going to style Nadia's curls in a finger coil twist out. To me, product is key when you're styling curly hair, and I love the Mr. Smith products for curly hair. I'm going to use three products today. I'm going to start with the leave-in, and then I'm going to add the mousse, and then I'll add the serum. And after that, I'm going to individually twist out her curls, and then we'll diffuse it. So the first product I'm going to start with is the Mr. Smith leave-in. The Mr. Smith leave-in will moisturize her curls and also add shine. It's super lightweight, which I love, so it's not going to weigh down her curls. It has mango butter, which hydrates and moisturizes, and it has frankincense, and the frankincense is strengthening for her hair. I also love the smell of the frankincense. It's super grounding. So it's really important when you're applying product that you go section by section and make sure that you get the product applied evenly all over. That way you know that all of the hair is going to behave the same way. So I'm going to start with the leave-in like we said, and I'm going to start with 2 pumps. Rub it all over my palms. And then I'm gonna start in the back underneath, and I'm sectioning her hair horizontally, and I'm using my hands like a rake, and I'm squeezing as I go down to make sure that I get the product all the way down to the ends. And then I'm gonna take another horizontal section about halfway up her head, and I'm gonna do the same thing with this section. And I'm making sure that I'm getting the product evenly spread out and distributed from roots to ends. Once I've applied that first amount of product, I'll again add 2 more pumps of product. Rub it between my palms, make sure it's everywhere. And then I'm gonna move up, and I'm taking another horizontal section, and I'm just at her low crown now. And you see that I'm using my hand like a comb, and then I squeeze my palm down through the ends. A lot of times it's the ends of curly hair that need more moisture. So I'm really focusing more pressure towards the ends. And now I'm gonna come around to the side and apply the product in the same way. And I'm making sure I'm getting all those little baby hairs around her face. I'm going to apply 1 more pump. And move around to her other side. And the same thing, finger combing, making sure that I'm getting it all the way through. And now I'm gonna move on to the top. As you can see, Nadia has a fringe, so I'm making sure that I'm getting all those shorter fringe pieces covered with the leave-in. And getting any excess product off my palms and sliding it down through the ends of her hair. So the next product that I'm going to use for Nadia's curly hairstyle is the Mr. Smith Mousse. What's really, really important with curly hair is that you use a product that has hold. You want to hold the curls into place. I love the Mr. Smith Mousse. It's super lightweight and it has a medium hold. It'll help us define the curls. There's jojoba oil and acai berry extract, and they nourish and moisturize the hair. For me, when I apply mousse to curly hair, I'm pretty generous, and I would say I'm pretty generous with product in general. And since the Mr. Smith mousse is really lightweight, you can be really generous with the product. So I'm gonna start with a handful about this size. And similarly to the leave-in, I'm going to spread it all over my palms. And again, I'm going to start in the back. And very similar to the leave-in, I'm going to go in horizontal sections and use my hands like a wide tooth comb. And I slide down from roots to ends, making sure that I evenly distribute the product all over her hair. And again, I'm making sure that I squeeze as I get down towards her ends because I want to be sure that the ends of her hair are sealed in. Now I'm about at her low crown, And I'm going to do a second application of about the same amount of product. Rub it between my palms. I'm going to take one more horizontal section, the back of her crown, and then I'm going to come around to the side. And Nadia has a lot of layers around her face, so I know I can just take this one large section on the side of her head. That all depends on the layers, on the density. Now I'm going to come around to the other side and do the same thing. And again, I'm making sure that I'm getting all those little baby hairs around her hairline because I want those to be defined and brought into the rest of her curls. I still have this little bit left on top. So I'm going to take just a little bit more product and add it to the top, to her fringe. I really want to make sure that I define the curls on the top of her head. Okay, now that I have the leave-in and the mousse evenly distributed throughout her hair, I'm going to begin doing the finger coils. Now that we have the product applied, it's time to start our finger coils. For Nadia, I'm going to start around the front face frame of her hair. I like to get the front of their hair first. That way it's something for the client to look at and see, and also you're sure to get in all the little flyaways and you can mesh them into the curls. So I'm going to start in her fringe area and going underneath. And I like to look at the hair and see what it wants to do and go with the curl pattern as much as I can. So for this section, I just took a little triangular section. You can see that I'm finger combing it with my hands. And then I'm twisting it and I'm sliding my fingers down to the ends. And then I'm going to take a section right next to it. And again, I'm letting what the curl wants to do dictate the direction that I'm going in. And I'm going to come to the other side. So now I've just done the fringe section that's closest to her hairline. And I'm going to take a section right behind it. And finger coil those curls right on top of it. It's important to layer the curls on top of each other. That way you'll have depth, you'll have lift, you'll have variation. I also like to do some of the curls one way, do some of the curls the other way. It becomes a little bit more natural that way. So now that I've done the fringe, I'm gonna come around and do the face framing pieces. Again, making sure that I'm getting all those little ends meshed in. And I'm looking at the way her hair grows and I'm going around her face. I can see that it wants to curl towards her face, so I'm doing that. And I'm rubbing my fingers along her hairline to make sure that I mesh in all those little baby hairs. And it's nice to kind of scrunch them gently back up to encourage the curls. I'm going to come around to this side and do the same thing. And I'm taking different shapes and sizes of sections. That way you have variation in the curls and they're not all exactly the same. Again, I'm finger combing and then twisting it around my finger. And then sometimes giving it a little scrunch back up to encourage the curl. So I'm going to continue finger coiling her hair all the way around her head in the same manner. Now that I've put in all the finger coils and I've smoothed the product into Nadia's hair, I want to make sure that I add a little bit more volume with her curls. Her curls are heavy and she has a lot of hair, so I'm going to use small pin curl clips to add a little lift at her root. I'll take a section of hair and pinch it from the root and put the clip in just below where I pinch it so it lifts the curl up. I'm gonna go around the head and do that in different areas where I want to be sure that I'll get a little extra root lift. So I'm gonna go around her head and put it in places where I want to get a little extra root lift. Nadia has a lot of layers up here on the top of her head, and I want to accentuate those layers and lift up her roots. And by doing it this way with the pin curl clips, then I'm not going to disrupt her curls by putting my hands in it while I'm diffusing it. And you see I'm pinching and I'm putting the clip just underneath where I pinched. And I'm not going to do it all over her head, just in a few spots where I want to add a little bit more volume. I'm going to add just a couple more right around her parietal ridge to give a little bit more lift in that area. Right where her head starts to drop down into the sides, I want to get a little bit more lift. And I'm pinching and clipping underneath right where I pinched. And I'm going to add one back here where her crown drops so I can get those layers back here to lift up a little bit more as well. Okay, the product has been applied. I've done the finger coils all over Nadia's head, and I put in a few little pin curl clips to add lift at the root. Now I'm going to diffuse Nadia's hair dry. At this point, you could also allow the person to go home and allow their hair to air dry, but I'm going to use the diffuser to speed things up. That way I can check out her haircut before she leaves. When I'm diffusing curls, I use high heat and high pressure. You have the diffuser, and so you don't have to worry about the pressure, but I want the maximum amount of power so I can dry pretty quickly. So now Nadia's hair is dry from diffusing. I diffused it with hot air the whole time until just the end. I cooled it off with some cold air. Speeds up the time when I can get my hands back in her hair. So now I'm going to take out all those little pin curl clips that we put in to add volume. Being careful not to disrupt her curls too much. But if you've put in enough product and you've made the right product choices, you can usually disrupt the curls a lot. And as you get your hands in the hair with the product, they'll get better and better. So I've gotten all of the clips. There's one more. All the clips are out. And I like to start by massaging their head. Oh, and there's one more clip. So I like to start by massaging their head. I take my hands, starting at the nape of the neck. It's nice to begin breaking up the set, and it also feels good for the person whose hair it is that you're working on. And while I'm doing this, I can start to look at the curls and see what's going on. And I put my hands on top and do the same thing. This will start to break up the curls without disrupting it too much. And for now, I'm doing that without any product on my hands. I'm just working with the leave-in and the mousse that I put in her hair when it was wet. So now that we have diffused Nadia's finger coil set, I'm going to add the Mr. Smith serum. I love to finish a curly set with Mr. Smith serum. It's super lightweight and it's full of moisturizing and nourishing oils. There's argan oil, jojoba oil, and hemp seed oil, and it's gonna add a lot of shine to her curls. So I'm gonna start with one pump. Like I said, it's super lightweight, but it also coats my palms really well with just one pump. So I'll start with one pump, rub it all over my palms, and then I'm going to go in to these individual curl sections and break them up. I want her curls to have definition, but I don't want it to be these big ropey curl sections. I want it to also appear to be natural and lived in. When Nadia's at home, she doesn't do a finger coil set. So I do want her finger coil set to be a bit more natural. So you can see I'm going and I'm breaking up her curls. And as I do it, I'm allowing the serum to slide down her curls, add shine, and also seal in the ends. If there's any little flyaways, the serum will help smooth those little flyaways into the rest of the section. Some of the shorter ones I can just slide my finger through, but some of the longer ones you can see I'm sliding my hand all the way down. Give it a little shake. And you can see that her fringe and those shorter layers on top are starting to loosen up. You want to break up her fringe so it's not just a couple of different sections. You can see that it's opening up. And this is also creating more volume. As you break up these little individual twists, they spread out and you create more volume. I like to shake them out, see what's going on, see how much further I need to go. And you can see some of those curls behind are still in those ropey sections. So I'll just keep working, breaking those up. And because you've used the Mr. Smith mousse, which has hold, even as I do this and I mess with the curls, you'll still maintain the curl pattern and the hold of the curl pattern. I like to start in the front because it's what they see first, it's what I can see first in the mirror or on the camera. I'm gonna keep shaking it and looking. And back here, I need to break all these sections up. And you can definitely see that the volume in Nadia's hair is coming back. And you see, even as I shake it and I mess with it, it's still shiny. You still see the definition of her curls. And I need to keep going in the back a little bit because they're still set in these little ropey twists back here. Now that I've pulled them apart, I just want to put the diffuser in it a little bit more and blow her curls around. Massaging her head and moving it around with my hands is a little bit different than using the diffuser. So I'm gonna get the diffuser and just get in there a little bit more with some heat. And you can see that I keep getting my hands in there and shaking it out, and as I do, it gets better and better. So this is our finger coil set using leave-in, mousse, and serum.